Cámara Peruana de Comercio Exterior. This is our second lecture today. We're going to talk about culture. But again, for those of you who are connecting for the first time during the day, I would like to welcome you and remember that CAMEX has many interesting and helpful and productive lectures every day. Okay. Even though I said it in my prior lecture, I'm going to say it again. Remember that please take all the necessary precautions that you might need to avoid getting sick. Things don't look that well, and I hope each and every one of us can stay safe, can avoid getting sick, and can stay healthy, because there's nothing more precious than health. Okay, so if you have to go out, remember that it's important to take all the necessary precautions. It's important to wash your hands when you come back home. It's important to clean your shoes when you enter your home. It's important to wear your mask when you're outside. It's also important to wear your face mask if you're traveling on public transportation. Um, Disinfect every now and then your hands with hand sanitizer. Wash your hands as much as possible. Um, don't touch, if you're outside. Don't touch your face. Don't touch your eyes. I mean, always always wear a mask, whether or not you're sick. If you think you're sick, please visit a doctor. Okay, it's important to the only way to stop this virus is by each one of us doing our part. Okay, there's no point of us complaining about the measures taken by the government if we don't do our part. What is the purpose of a quarantine if we go out without wearing masks, if we feel sick and we don't go to the doctor, if we don't take care of our loved ones? Okay, if we don't stop it, then it's never going to stop. Okay, so just one more time, please take all the necessary precautions. If you can stay at home and relax, do it. Okay, I know it's kind of boring, but it's the best way of avoiding getting sick. Okay. um, and so we're going to continue with our next topic. This topic is going to be about culture. Okay. Again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Carlos Martinez. I am an English instructor and speaking coach. I am a former team leader from Pacifico University, and currently I'm an EFL teacher at Villa Larife School in Chorrillos. Okay. If you remember that I follow your conversation, I follow your comments, and I follow your doubts through the Facebook through the Zoom app, but also through the Facebook app. Okay, I'm always reading. The only thing with the Facebook app is that for some reason I sometimes don't read. I don't get any message. So if you ask me a question and I, for some reason, am not able to answer, that's because I have not read it, or I didn't receive the message, or I received it late. Because that's what happens with the Facebook app. Sometimes there's a delay in the messages, but I hope I am able to answer everyone's question as quickly as I receive them. Okay, so let's begin. The topics that we're going to talk about are culture, the four stages of culture shock, globalization, positive or negative, and cultural awareness. Okay, um, culture is it's an interesting topic. It's every country in the world has its culture. Every country in the world has the way they do things, the things they believe in, and it has nothing to do with politics. Okay, sometimes people confuse culture with politics. Oh, this has always been done, and this is the way. No, a culture is things that are in our DNA. Okay, our food, our heritage, our music, the way we respect our elders, the way we treat our visitors, the way we help each other. Okay, that's in our DNA. That's a part of our culture, and every country in the world has the same thing, based on what is good or what is normal for their culture. Okay, and culture can be englobed in from little, for example, we the people who live in Lima, we have our own culture, and inside our cities we have our own culture, and then in our province there's another culture. Our country has a different culture. Our continent has a different culture. Our backgrounds, our Hispanic background have different culture, our American cultures, then and then our global, it goes global. Okay, so it goes from little to big. We are all part of the world. So let's begin by defining what culture is. Culture can be defined as all the ways of life, including arts, beliefs, and institutions of a population that are passed down from one generation to another. That means that my culture was not invented by my mom or my grandma. It was invented from many, many, many years back. Okay, it comes from way, way back, maybe even more than the Spanish. Okay, some of our food comes from all the way back from even when the Incas were here. Okay, so it's passed by generation to generation. Culture has been called the way of life of an entire society. This is totally true. Okay, because like I was saying, this is how we live. This is what is normal for us. Um, for example, if we travel to Ecuador, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Venezuela, Bolivia, any just the countries that are around us, when we get to these places, we will notice that culture is different. The time that they eat, what they drink when they're thirsty, what they do on weekends, how they celebrate their parties, what they have for breakfast. Um, and that goes, like I said, from the little to the big. For example, in my house particularly, um, we have the custom of sometimes in the morning my mom will fry us a piece of chicken or a piece of meat to eat with bread. Some people don't. Some people prefer their orange juice and their coffee. Okay, so this has been passed from many, many years back. This was not invented by them. This was invented by our 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 the people from our past, you know, our members from our history. So, as such, it includes codes of manner, dress, language, religion, rituals, games, norms of behavior such as law and morality, and systems of belief as well as art. For example, I mean, our Occidental culture with, let's say, the Arab culture. Sometimes we want to scream and get very angry with the way Middle Eastern countries behave, but that is their culture. We cannot, maybe we don't agree with it, maybe we are not happy with it, but we cannot tell them that they're wrong. I mean, at least not to their faces because that's their culture. Okay, we may, like I said, we might not agree. We might think it's bad, and pretty sure it is, but it's their culture, and by so we need to respect it. That's one thing that is important: the respect of cultures. We cannot impose what we think just because it's the way I think, because that will make me intolerant. Okay, I need to be opened to receive all different types of input and accept it, respect it. That doesn't mean agree. I might agree or not. That's totally different. But I need to respect it. Okay. Very important word, respect. Okay. Now, culture. When something is cultured, let's use the word cultured, it has good taste or good manners. Okay. If a person, a man, a woman, a child, an elderly person is cultured, that means that he or she has good tastes, good manners, a good education, a lot of knowledge. Okay. Now, what is belief? Belief is the mental act or condition or habit of placing trust or confidence in another. My belief in you is as strong as ever. I mean, I everything tells me that you are going to do this, that you are the person that's going to accomplish something. Okay, that is what belief means. It's the mental acceptance of and conviction in the truth, actuality, and validity of something. His explanation of what happened defies belief. Okay, it's, I mean, this is what I mentally accept. Okay, so this is another definition of belief. The first one is that I have trust and confidence in something or someone. The second one is that this concept validates what I believe in. Okay, whether or not it's true, no, we're not talking about right or wrong. We're telling that this concept of this idea will validate my actions. Okay, I do this because this is what I believe or what I think is correct. It's my validation of my action. Okay. And three, something believed or accepted as true, especially a particular tenet of a body or tenets accepted by groups of people. This had to do more with, for example, like religion, okay, my beliefs. Okay, this is what my group, my religion tells me, and I accept it. Okay. Next, ethics. Ethics. Now, This is important. I learned this while I was studying to be a dentist, and also in my preparation as a teacher, as an English teacher. A system of accepted beliefs which control behavior, especially such as a system based on morals. Everything needs to be ethical. Okay, ethical means that it's I do things thinking about, I mean, what is morally right. Okay, for example, if I am a teacher and I, for example, insult my students, that is unethical. I mean, that is not morally correct. Or if I don't respect the parent, that is unethical. Imagine that I'm here giving my class and all of a sudden I start to say bad words, or I start to talk about um, saying that everybody's wrong because they don't think like me. No, that would be unethical. Okay, we need to be ethical. We need to know and accept and do things that are morally correct. Okay, that are morally correct. Remember, we're not talking about opinion. We're not fixating on something. We're talking about general topics. Values, beliefs of a person or a social group in which they have an emotional investment, either for or against something. He has very conservative value. The value is what um, a value is what the things that you, similar to belief, honestly, is what you um, what guides you. Okay, if my values tell me that something, for example, this for me is important, then it has a value. Okay, for me, if it's not important, then it has no value. Okay, so this causes this will control or manage the way I am. If I have good values, then normally I will be a good person. If I have bad values, then normally I would be not such a good person. Okay, and values are set not by, there is not one value that is correct or incorrect. Values are set by our customs. Okay, civilization, the social process whereby societies achieve an advanced stage of development and organization. Okay, this is when we went from living in caves and trees, and we started building in homes. We had technology. We became civilized. Okay, we advanced in our development, in our organization. Okay, we went from simple to our modern society. Cultural specificities. It's interesting to learn about the cultural specificities of other countries. Okay, for example, I want to know about if I want to travel. For example, I want to travel to, let's say, Argentina. It's Latin America. They speak Spanish. It must be the same. I'm pretty sure no. So every culture has specific values, specific things that they hold dear, things that they respect, things that you need to take into account, okay? Because it's their custom. You cannot change it. I cannot expect, for me, for example, in Peru, some people have the custom of drinking in one glass and passing it around. If I move to the United States and I make friends there, would I expect that they share the glass like we do here? No, because that's not their custom. And if they don't do it, can I think that they're wrong? No, because it's not their custom. It's not what is specific for their culture. Okay, and I have to accept it, and I have to maybe be tolerant and moldable, and change to be to avoid confrontation and to avoid insult. Culturally acceptable is that it isn't culturally acceptable if some countries to blow your nose in public places. Yeah, like these are like what culture things that are correct or incorrect. For example, in Peru, it is in culture acceptable to, for example, to call your parents by their first names. For example, that's not. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad or wrong. It's just culturally not acceptable. I mean, that doesn't. It's not. That's not the way it works. Or for example, to I don't know, to offend. Well, this is not. This is not culture. This is common knowledge. You shouldn't offend women, but the way men and women treat each other, it's not culturally acceptable to be offensive. I mean, it's no. We need to be courteous. We need to be polite. Okay, cultural conflicts. We should try hard to avoid cultural conflicts as they are a result of misunderstanding. Yes. Again, going back to my example, I am not going to fight with a person from another country if he or she does not the cultures that we in Peru have. It's not his fault. He's not doing it intentionally. He's doing it because that's the way he was raised, or that's what he believed in. Cultural stereotypes. Okay, A fixed idea that people have about what someone or something is like, especially if the idea is wrong. Cultural stereotypes make our understanding of other cultures difficult. A stereotype is what we think or how we think something is, but it's not always real. It's a stereotype. We need stereotypes are not good. Okay, we should not validate something because of a stereotype. Okay, cultural diversity, the fact, the quality of cultures of being diverse or different. Okay, again, even in Lima, I mean, people from Chorrillos, Miraflores, Surco, we have different things that we do differently, and it happens too with the different cities in Lima, the different cities in Peru, the different cities in America. I mean, it's diverse, it's different. Cultural diversity should be considered as a source of enrichment rather than conflict, of course. I mean, if somebody can come to my house from another culture, I would like to learn, and I would learn from that, and I would apply it to my life if I think it's possible. But it shouldn't be a reason of conflict. I mean, I think one of the dumbest reasons of conflict is over culture. I mean, we can't do anything about it. This is in our DNA, like I mentioned before. Cultural uniqueness, which make a country different from others. Every country is unique. Even though I think Peru is the best country in the world, and I think I'm pretty sure everybody agrees, um, we are still unique, like Chile is, like Ecuador is, like Brazil, like Argentina, like Ecuador, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, and all the countries of Latin America. We're all unique. We all have our different cultures, but that makes us special. Cultural misconception. A misconception is when we have a bad idea of something. Okay, I always believe, I read that the people from this country were like this, and I thought that this was the reality for many years or much time, and finally I meet somebody from this country, and then they're like, wow. It's like people from the United States or Europe sometimes, well, not more the United States and Europe, they think that in South America we live in huts, and we live in, with, at least in Peru, we ride on llamas and stuff like that. It's a misconception because they have been taught, or they have learned it the wrong way. I mean, okay, culture shock. We're going to see this a little bit later. It's a confusion, anxiety that people feel when they become part of a new society. Okay, when the difference in culture affects you physically, mentally. Okay, racial behavior resulting from a belief that race accounts for differences in human character. Okay, or ability, and have a particular race is superior to another. I mean, that's racism. When we think that one race is better than the other, that's racism, and it's very bad. It should not be permitted. We may limit the danger of racial behavior if there is a mutual understanding of different cultures. Okay, we're all human beings. We might be different colors, we might have different customs, but we're still human beings. Racism and to discriminate people because of their color of their skin, because of their sexual tendencies, because of their beliefs, their religion, is bad. It is bad. Okay, tolerance, it's important. Um, every race has different behaviors. I'm pretty sure that people from the Andes have different customs than the people from the coast, and the people from Europe have different customs from the people from Latin America, but that does not make one better than the other. Okay, local culture. Local culture refers to the culture developed in local level. Like I said, it goes from big to from little to big. Global culture. This is about the things that happen at a global level. Okay, for example, technology, the use of Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G. This doesn't happen in Peru. It happens all over the place. Okay, it's a global culture. Global village, the entire world and its inhabitants. Okay, so we are all connected. Globalization, in literal sense, is the process of transformation of local phenomena into global ones. Okay, it can be described as a process in which people of the world are unified into a single society and function together. This process is a combination of economic, technological, social, cultural, and political forces. Globalization is often used to refer to economic globalization, that is, integration of national economies into the international economy through trade. Okay, so this is a very formal meaning of globalization. But what is globalization? Is when boundaries or limits are broken. When what happens in, for example, this pandemic that we're suffering right now is a result of globalization, because this virus appeared in China, and after a few months it was all over the world. Why? Because we are globalized. Because People travel from China to Europe to Latin America to North America, from North America to Asia, and we move all around, okay, because of business, because of education, because of entertainment, okay. What happens in one country will definitely affect us somehow, okay. For example, if China has an economical problem, or the US, is going to affect us because we depend on the Chinese economy and the American economy. That is globalization. When, for example, a trend, uh, TikToks and hashtags and all this stuff, I mean, we are celebrating, or we are having fun with things that are happening in other parts of the world. This is globalization. These are things that have to do with interconnection of, in not only economical things, but cultural things, entertainment things, sports. Okay, um, these are things that have to do with globalization. Okay, um, the world is interconnected, and they are connected in different ways, not only through the internet, because the internet has existed for many years, since at least in Peru, 1996, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not wrong. But globalization was never as strong as it is now. Never as strong as it is now. Okay, if one country, if something happens in one country, it's definitely going to have some effect with us, because we have some. I mean, Peru has connections with many, or if not all, the countries in the world. If something happens there, then it's going to affect us. Okay, prices might go up, taxes might go up, maybe transportation, traveling might be affected, and many things. Okay, so it's something that we're going to talk about specifically in a little bit. And like I mentioned, stereotype is a generalized idea of something, not necessarily correct. I remember many years ago when there was this TV presenter called Laura Bozo, and she was very famous, and she managed to travel to the United States, and her program was broadcasted in the USA, and even people from Latin America, not even Americans, when they used to watch this in Univision or Telemundo, whatever the name of the company that transmitted the show was, whenever they met Peruvian people, they would say, "And why do you have teeth? Or why are you a professional? I thought Peruvians were like the ones that I saw on the Laura and America show." It's a stereotype. Okay, that's a stereotype. Of course, it's a stereotype that was produced and it was caused by this lady's show, but it's a stereotype. People believe that this is how Peruvians talked, lived. I mean, not only the people that, of course, the people who were there were Peruvians, but and they were actors, many things. But people generalized. People had the stereotype that this was the typical Peruvian. The typical Peruvian was very gossipy. The typical Peruvian didn't have teeth. I do, for example. The typical Peruvian had no education. I have two master's degree diplomas. I'm a teacher, a dentist. I mean, and this was a stereotype, and this is bad. Stereotypes are not good. Okay, we should eliminate all stereotypes. If we believe that something is just because they have told us, so we imagine, then no, we need to investigate. We need to get the facts. Okay, stereotypes should not control the way you think about people. Okay, now I mentioned culture shock before. Okay, culture shock is, for example, when somebody from Latin America goes to live in Asia. First of all, many things are going to be different because the culture in Asia is different than the culture in Peru. Second, the time. The time difference in Asia is different than the time in Peru. This causes another problem, which is called jet lag. Jet lag is when your body is accustomed. Okay, all of us have an internal clock that once we see that it's getting a little bit dark, we'll start to feel sleepy. Our body's going to realize that, right? Or even without looking outside, your body just starts to feel sleepy when it's kind of late. But let's imagine that you go to Asia where the clock it's like 14 hours later. So your body's going to feel like I want to sleep, but the sun is outside. Your body's going to be confused, okay? Why is the sun outside and I'm not sleeping? Or everybody's sleeping and you're like full awake because your body is with the Peruvian clock. So that's jet lag, okay? So that is one of the problems of culture shock. But culture shock also includes other things, not only the time. It includes the way people do things, the way people behave, the way people um, react and follow the rules. Okay, and that is culture shock. Okay, now culture shock has different stages. The first, culture shock is a common phenomenon, and though it may take months to develop, notice it may take months to develop, it often affects travelers and people living far from home in unexpected ways. Culture shock is more than simply being unfamiliar than social norms or experiencing new foods, and it tends to impact travelers even after they've become familiar with and comfortable with the culture. Okay, so it's not only about the norms and the food, it's everything. And people get sick, people literally get sick, physically sick. Okay, culture shock generally moves through four different phases: the honeymoon phase, the frustration phase, the adjustment phase, and the acceptance phase. Okay, these are the four phases of culture shock: honeymoon phase, frustration phase, adjustment phase, and acceptance phase. Okay, now why is this important? Because nowadays, even though because of COVID we are grounded, but as soon as this goes away, we're going to continue to travel. Students are going to go to the USA, to Europe, to Asia to study. People are going to come to Peru to work, to travel. Sometimes they stay. Okay, so that's why it's important. The first stage is the honeymoon stage. Honeymoon is literally the time after people get married, where everything is happy, everything is flowers, everything is hearts, cupids, and I mean, everything is beautiful. Nothing can go wrong. This is what a honeymoon is. Okay, now this also happens with culture shock, the honeymoon stage. The first stage of culture shock is often overwhelmingly positive during the traveler, which infatuated with the language, people, and food, and their new surroundings. This means that, wow, everything is so cool, everything is new, wow, look at this, wow, look at that, oh, the food is delicious, everything is awesome, everything, like the Lego movie, everything is awesome. I mean, you're happy. I mean, everything is great because everything is new. Okay, at this stage, the trip and move seems like the best decision you have ever made. Okay, wow, I'm so happy I moved to Shanghai. I mean, look at the buildings, look at the technology. Wow, Peru sucks. Peru is the best. I mean, everything is awesome. Okay, again, quoting the Lego movie. Okay, this is an exciting adventure, and you want it that you want it that it never ends. Okay, on short trips, the honeymoon phase may take over the entire experience, as the later effects of culture shock don't have time to set in. On longer trips, the honeymoon stage will usually phase out eventually. Okay, if you're going to a place for, let's say, a week or two, you will always be in the honeymoon stage. You will say, okay, I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to, maybe I want to live here. I want to move, because you have only seen the good things about the city, the people, everything. So you're in love with this situation. Um, Sometimes when honeymoon stages appear, when the trips are longer. Okay, and after a certain point of time, the honeymoon stage will fade out, and you will get into the next stage, which is called the frustration stage. The frustration stage may be the most difficult stage of culture shock, and is probably familiar to anyone who has lived abroad or travels frequently. For those of you, I know in comics, many students, many people, many people who do international business have traveled. They must have every now and then um, been through the frustration stage. At this stage, the fatigue of not understanding gestures, signs, and the language sets in. Okay, so now you start to see things that you didn't notice before. Now, for example, I don't understand anybody. Okay, it's so frustrating. I have to translate everything. I wish I was able to speak Spanish or English all the time. Okay, or maybe at the beginning, oh, I said this wrong word, and people misunderstood, and everything is funny, ha ha ha, anecdote. But then this happens once, twice, three times, four times, five, and you start to get frustrated. It's like, why don't people understand what I'm saying? Okay, everything becomes a problem. For example, small things like losing your keys or missing the bus, or getting the wrong food. For example, you order a burger and they bring you spaghetti. You're like, why? You get frustrated. I mean, you start to notice these little things that you didn't notice before. Why? Because when you were there for the first week, you were the tourist and everybody wanted to help you, and the mistakes were anecdotes and everything was funny and nice. But now these mistakes become more and more and more infuriating, and you get more and more stressed. And while frustration comes and goes, it's a natural reaction of people spending extended times in new countries. Bouts of depression and homesickness. When you're homesick, is like you miss your house, you want to return, you become very nostalgic. and feelings of longing to go home where things are familiar and uncomfortable are all coming during the frustration. So here I want to go back to Lima. I want to go back to my chaotic traffic. I want to go back to my tia Benina on the street who sells me, death on sticks. Or I want to go back to people who don't respect the people, the bicycle lane and trying to kill me. I mean, I want to go back to this. Even the order or even the organization of places can frustrate you. Okay, so this is the frustration stage. The next stage is the adjustment stage. In the adjustment stage, frustration are often subdued as travelers begin to feel more familiar and comfortable with the cultures. Now you start to understand. Now you say, oh, so the last time I ordered a burger and they brought me some spaghetti because I used the wrong word. So that's never going to happen again. So now when you ask for a burger, they bring you a burger. Okay, and you start to understand things. You start to get accustomed. You start to do things that the local people do. You start to realize. You start making less mistakes. You start to feel more part of. Okay, navigation becomes easier. Friends and communities of support are established, and details of local languages may become more recognizable during their adjustment. You start to have friends, so now you start to have a nightlife. You start to go out. You start to relax. You have places to go and blow off steam. And finally, the acceptance stage. This generally through some weeks, months, or years after wrestling with the emotional stages outlined above, the final stage of culture shock is acceptance. I mean, I am now part of this culture. I mean, now I understand why. Now I know that this is good and why this is bad. Now, when you get to this stage of acceptance and you go back to your hometown, you're going to get the culture shock again from your own culture. Why? Because your body has become adapted to what is normal to your new place of residency. So now all these things that used to be like we talked yesterday, used to be familiar, are now wrong. Okay, now you wish you want to go back to the place where you felt uncomfortable at the beginning. Okay, and during the acceptance stage, travelers have the familiarity and are able to draw together the resources they need to feel at ease. That means that now you barely make mistakes with the language. Yeah, if you're hungry, you know where to go. If you're thirsty, you know where to go. If you want to go shopping, you know where to go. Now you know how to do many things. Okay, and now the other topic we want to talk about is globalization. Is it positive or is it negative? I think globalization is very good, but I sometimes think it's not so good. Okay, globalization provides both positive and negative influences on cultural diversity, which may have far-reaching impacts. For me, the most negative impact is the loss of culture. For example, there are things that we always used to do, and now we don't. Things that our grandparents used to do, and now we don't. Why? Because they have been replaced by other things. For example, well, this is not a complaint because my children, they love Halloween. I have no problem with Halloween. I grew up in New York, so for me, Halloween is normal. But in Peru, we celebrate Creole Song Day. Okay, so what I think is not, I don't want to abolish Halloween as people say, oh no, disappear. No, I think this is a holiday. It's entertaining for children, because that's how it is. It's just entertaining. It has nothing to do with religion or anything. It's just entertaining. But we shouldn't forget about the other. I mean, especially the young generations. Don't forget about what used to be. I mean, celebrate your Halloween and everything, but still celebrate Creole Song Day. We cannot lose our cultures because we cannot forget who we are. Okay, globalization has a big problem, and the big problem is sometimes it is replacing what we normally do with what others do. Okay, for example, expressions that were never ours. Now you hear children use Spanish expressions, Mexican expressions, Argentinian expressions, and not even as a part of. I mean, it's part of the language. It's part of the way of how they communicate, and they are eliminating expressions that are typically ours. Okay, so that's something negative. There are a number of negative impacts globalization has had on cultural diversity, including the influence of multinational corporations have on promoting consumer culture, exploitation of workers and markets, and influence. Okay, this is the political and more serious point of view. Um, for example, a company in the USA, they want to make the products cheaper. So what do? They move to another country where the labor force is cheap. America, Asia, the Middle East, and they exploit people. They exploit people because uh, their product is. I mean, for example, let's say that in the US this lemon costs $100, okay? But if they made this lemon in the USA, it will cost them $50 to produce this lemon, so they will only gain $50. So, oh no, let's see, where can I? Oh, if I send my product to a business in Indonesia, this is not going to cost me 50, it's going to cost me 15 or maybe 10. So I would send it to that place, but the price still continues to be 100. So the company makes more profit, when they do this, okay? And that is not good because they take advantage of work, of the labor of work, the work laws, or just because the country where you are doesn't really care. So that is a negative impact because sometimes these things can be taken advantage. Now, a positive impact, and I also think it's good, is because now, for example, we have everything at our hands. Okay, right now I have had students from Mexico a couple of months back. Okay, and they were in their homes, and I was here in Lima, and we were having class. If I want to create a business, now I can buy from many countries. I can look for the cheaper price, and I can look for the ones who give us the best information, and I don't need to. My market is not limited only to, let's say, my city or my country. It can be anywhere. Okay, you can sell your product to any place in the world, and you can get products from any place in the world. So I mean, globalization has had positive effects and also has had negative effects, but I mean, it only depends on us and how we use it, how we take advantage of it. Okay, how we demonstrate if the different uses of the technology, and the new ideas that we import. Right, we can add, but we cannot replace. Okay, that's what I think we should do. I mean, anything that comes to my country and serves as motivation, as a new way of doing things, that's great. But as long as it doesn't replace or eliminate everything else that was there before. Okay. Cultural awareness. Now, this is important because, again, imagine I'm a businessman. Okay, and I go to the Middle East, and I stand in front of a group of people from the Middle East, and I start to talk about my religious beliefs as a Christian or as a Protestant or whatever my religion is, but that is different from Muslim. And I prepare my speech without taking into account this information. So maybe I'm pretty sure to make mistakes, and then I might have problems. Okay, I am not aware. I mean, consciente. I'm not aware of the other people's culture. Okay, I need to take it into account. You may hear the term cultural awareness, cultural safety, cultural respect, or cultural competence. Um, for example, in Australia, I mean, because there was a problem there with some things related to cultural awareness. Okay, um, companies were coming to this country and trying to adapt their form of work in this country without thinking of the way this country worked. Okay. Now, the following definition will help you to understand what they mean. Cultural awareness is sensitivity to the similarities and differences that exist between two different cultures. I need to understand how we are different and how we are similar, and adapt my product to this. Cultural safety involves actions that recognize and respect the nurture the unique cultural identity of a person, and culture and safety meet their needs. Okay, so culture safety, it means working from a cultural perspective from other people, not your own perspective. Okay, everything I do, I think I do it thinking about you because I am in your city, I am in your country. Uh, I have to adapt to you, not you to me. Okay, for example, my father was an immigrant to the United States, and when we went to live to the United States, we didn't expect the USA to change to adapt to me. My family had to adapt to their new life. Okay, cultural respect can be defined as its recognition, protection, and continued advancement of inherent rights, cultures, and traditions of a particular culture. Again, we need to respect. Okay, if in a certain culture they eat insects and I don't, that doesn't make their culture bad and mine correct. If in a certain culture they manage certain things in a certain way, that doesn't mean they're wrong and I am right. No, that means that that's the way they do it. Again, totally different from what I mentioned before, which is agreement or disagreement. This has to do with acceptance, tolerance. Okay, we need to tolerate people for what they do, for what they believe, and what, and everything, because we don't share the same brain, we don't share the same background. Okay, we cannot think, oh, you're wrong because you don't think like me, right? No, you're wrong because everybody thinks this is right and you think it's no. I need to accept it. Not a, like I said, I'm saying totally different than agree and disagree. Like I tell my son, you know, um, tolerance. Dad, what is tolerance? Accept and respect whether or not you agree or not. But I accept and I respect. Okay, very good. And cultural competence means becoming aware of the cultural differences that exist, appreciating and having an understanding of those differences and accepting them. It means to be prepared to go to guard against accepting your own behaviors, beliefs, and actions as the norm. Okay, so that means that I am aware that this different that this exists, and I accept it, and I make it part of me. Personal cultural competence is the actions we personally take to expand our knowledge of other cultures. I mean, this is what I do to learn. So I'm not going to be like the horses that only look front. No, I need to take them off and see all the broad aspect. Okay, I need to know what is what is true to others. I mean, how this can help me. Okay, very good. And with that, I think, yes, with that, this will be the last. Any questions about this topic? It's been a short topic. It's a quick topic. Again, thank you for working with me in this session. This is very important. Cultural awareness is specialized in, especially in a globalized world. Because professionals travel all over the world. Professionals move all over the place, and thank you. Um, and and we need to be capable of adapting. And to adapt doesn't mean, okay, I am Peruvian and I'm going to go to the USA, so now please, I want you to do everything that Peru used to do for me. No, I need to find a middle ground. I need to adapt to the laws, I need to follow the laws, I need to respect the culture. Okay, I can't be offending their food, I can't be offending their laws, I can't be offending their culture just because it's different than mine. I need to accept it. I am the visitor, I am the new person there. Maybe after a while I will accommodate and I will adjust, but I need to be tolerant, I need to be understanding, I need to be aware that not everybody thinks like me and not everybody believes the same things I do. There are different religions, there are different options, there are different many things. We need to have an open mind and open eyes and be able to accept and tolerate what everyone desires, okay, what everyone thinks and what everyone believes in. Again, thank you very much for the lecture. Are there any questions? Like I said, I only have one message in the chat area in in the Facebook chat. Thank you, Leandro, for your message. If there are no more questions, remember that you can contact me at my um, personal email, which I'll give you in a minute. And remember, stay tuned because the whole day there are going to be many lectures, interesting, beneficial, and um, lectures that are very helpful for you. Okay, you can contact me at my email cjmflores@gmail.com. My WhatsApp number is 947-390-436. And finally, my LinkedIn account, CJM Flores 27. Okay, so you can meet me there. You can talk to me, contact me if you have any questions, and I would gladly help you out if there is anything I can help you out with. Okay, so thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your participation. And remember, tolerance is the key to getting along. Okay, God bless. Take care. Use hand sanitizers if you're going to go out, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye bye.